but he still manages to break free. And keep in mind, this is the important part, he is being mishandled and disrespected respectfully to the highest degree. None of his wounds are healed. He's bleeding out, borderline hysterical, and I'm pretty sure he's hemorrhaging by the end of this chapter internally. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Anime Ramble. Today I got for you My Hero Academia chapter 320. What is going on? Well, with chapter 320 of My Hero Academia, it's not Midoriya fighting his classmates, it's him just trying to escape from them. And I'll be the first to walk back what I said about chapter 319. He isn't cracked. Well, no, I take that back. He is cracked, but he has not cracked, right? There's a difference. The man is just passionate about not allowing his classmates to be a part of a fight that he thinks is only his responsibility to take on. Now, we can have different opinions about this. You could think, no, this is symbolic. He has to take on All For One and do what All Might could not do and defeat him. Or he can be better than All Might, because if you remember, when All Might was driven by his emotions and he fought All For One, that was when Gran Torino had said that it was that point to when All For One got into All Might's head that All Might made a mistake, which led to the career-ending injury that he had done to him, which led to him having to transfer the power of One For All to Midoriya to begin with. So for Midoriya, the thought of losing his friends if this goes bad, it's too much for him to handle, and he just doesn't want to think about it. And having everybody there in the moment is making this much more difficult than what it needs to be for him. But at the end of the day, this has to be a situation that he understands that he doesn't have to fight this alone. And anytime you can get Koda to raise their voice and actually not just, whisper or not talk to animals and insects, you know you done fucked up, okay? And it even managed to put a shock on Midoriya's face when he heard Koda yelling. And what makes this really special, like, this was definitely, it felt a very talk no jutsu type of moment, but it was done in such a good way, and it was done in such a different way that I enjoyed every minute of it. You have Koda who kicks it off and is trying to talk some sense into Midoriya, and it's like, look, the principal says you can come back to school, you don't just have to be out here on your own, come back to the school and we can figure this out, we can work with Endeavor and try to come up with a plan. Midoriya's like, nah. They tried to work with him and be like, okay, you don't have to come back to the school, but we can go along with you and try to help you. Midoriya is like, nah. So at this point, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but stick with me. He gets to Momo, and Momo's like, look, all right, we tried to go along with you, you said no. We tried to bring you back to the school, you said no. The principal has told us that we have permission to ensure your safety. That's our mission. So whether or not you want us to go, our mission is to make sure you don't die. And Midoriya is like, nah. So he jumps out the back window, because at this point, it's kind of fucked up because they're there to help Midoriya. This goes back to what I said in the last chapter review. Everybody needs a friend like Bakugo. Well, everybody needs a friend that's in 1A, because they do not hesitate to beat some sense into this man. Listen to me as I say this to you. Midoriya didn't want to fight them, he just wanted to run, right? So he takes off. He tries to use a smoke screen, Bakugo handles it. He tries to use Black Whip, Sero handles it. By the time he gets shuffled along to Momo, Shoji, Tokoyami, Kaminari, he's pinned down pretty well, alright? He's bound by Shoji and the Dark Shadow, and he's being electrocuted all at the same time, but he still manages to break free. And keep in mind, this is the important part, he is being mishandled and disrespected respectfully to the highest degree. None of his wounds are healed. He's bleeding out, borderline hysterical, and I'm pretty sure he's hemorrhaging by the end of this chapter internally. The writing was so good in this chapter, I just completely missed the fact that they're actually kicking his ass pretty well. He has to be losing more blood now than he was in the past, fighting any of the hired guns. And even after he manages to break free, and he's going full speed ahead, right? He's bust out the back of the building that he was being trapped in by everybody, and he's going full speed through the air using his floatability, slams right into a Todoroki, bust his shit wide open. At this point, all they gotta do is wait for him to pass out due to a lack of blood. That's what it's seeming like they're going to do, all right? Because even by the end of the chapter, he's still very stubborn and he doesn't want to allow for them to help him. And at one point in this chapter, I'm like, you're too smart to be doing this stupid shit. He's wasting energy. You're not gonna shake them. I think it was Shoji in this chapter that even said a formation like this would even rival All Might. So, I mean, you can try some more. You would have a better chance if you were full strength like what they are, because they've been cooped up and locked up in a school, so they're 100% ready to go at a moment's notice, and you're like kind of on your last leg. I mean, you're gonna need a sensu bean to get your shit back in this fight, realistically, because last time I checked, Shigaraki and All For One are in much better condition than what you are trying to go into this fight. You need to do some big brain moves unlike what we've seen from All Might in the past, because if I walk this discussion back to page 16, we get this shot of Deku flying out of the back of the building that he was, trapped in, and he's flying overhead of a All Might statue. I really couldn't help but think of the hero that All Might was, and the hero that Deku saw as a child and wanted to emulate, and the hero that Deku has become. But you know, this really falls in line heavily with the character development throughout the series. From the very beginning, he's wanted to be basically a carbon copy of All Might, alright? That has never worked for him, okay? Throughout the entire series, the manga, the anime, him trying to be exactly like All Might has never worked for him. It wasn't until he realized and had that revelation that, hey, I can use my legs, I can actually kick, I don't just have to throw punches all the time, that he really started to grow and come up with a style that was all to his own, that could rival the strength of All Might, right? And in some cases, actually surpass it, because if you think about it, your arms are never going to be as strong as your legs. Never. You walk on your legs, they support your entire body almost 24/7. You're just not going to match that. And with his form that he has now, with all of the combined strength of the previous users of One For All, he now has a strength that can rival All Might. But I have to go back to what I said earlier. Unlike with All Might, he did not have a team to help him. Deku does. So Deku needs to use his big brain, the one that we all give him credit for being one of the smartest shonen protagonists that we got of the new generation. He really needs to reel it back in, okay? At this point, he's a dead man walk. And we have Todoroki there at the end of the chapter to just hammer in everything that I have said up until this point. He reminds him that this is not something that he has to take on all by himself, and the burden is to be shared. Alright, they all are heroes, they all have quirks, they all live in the cities that have been affected, they all have people personally that have been affected. Todoroki, definitely. He's acting like a child. Deku. I'm just gonna come out and say it. He's acting like a complete child, and he needs to be checked. I'm glad everybody was there to check him. Everybody needs friends like that. Hashtag Nakama. I'm not gonna ramble on any longer than what I need to be. If you made it to the end, thank you. If you're new, go plus social and smash that subscribe button. Let me know you rock with the content that I put out on the channel. Like the video if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video. Comment on the video your thoughts about what you think is going on, how Deku is gonna handle this situation, what is gonna become of it, how willing. That's the important question. How willing is he going to be with allowing them to come along with him and try to handle these things? I'll leave you off on this note. With more people, at first I was just like, okay, it's possible that, you know, Deku might die at the end of this, right? It's possible. Or be so severely maimed like All Might, he's out the game forever. You know, that and that just goes back to, you know, the permanent nerve damage that the doctors always would tell him about his hands. He doesn't have that that recoil problem anymore, but it doesn't negate the damage that was already done. He could still fuck himself up permanently. With there now being more bodies, it runs the risk of potentially someone in Class 1A dying, and I think that needs to be something that we have to entertain. Horikoshi is a writer who is very talented and skilled, but we saw, much like what we saw with Midnight, when it comes time for a character to die, they're not just gonna, you know, wiggle their way out of that and be protected by plot armor. So leave that down in the comment section too, what you think about that. Maybe I'm just talking out my ass, but subscribe if you're brand new, and like always, until next time, I'm out.